Welcome back. I'm Justin with the Atlanta Brick Co. and joined with me again is Chris, Joe, and Mark. Today we're talking about episode 3 of LEGO Masters Season 2.
I am so excited to talk about this episode. Did you guys watch it this morning at 2?
Yeah.
I mean, Loki just it started off good last week with episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't watch it yet?
I
no,
haven't.
what are we
didn't.
talking about here?
I know.
I thought this was LEGO Masters. Justin, isn't this LEGO Masters?
I thought so.
Oh, okay, all right.
just
We'll
mute
talk about
Chris.
Loki later then.
Yeah, that's
all right.
After I
Because
watch
it was really good. Well, Justin, you just got back from vacation. Did you have a chance to watch episode 3?
I did.
Okay.
It was very good.
You look good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You went to Florida?
I did, yeah.
Got a tan, I see. Got the vacation beard
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looking
Went
good
to-
right there.
Yeah, very good. I could tell that you're more relaxed.
Yeah,
So,
the vacation helped a lot.
you have a glow about you that just looks like you're relaxed. Did you work out? You look buffer.
Well, I was lifting heavy bags.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Right on time to film our episode
For
3
sure, yeah.
discussion. So I was a little disappointed last night, Mark.
Yeah. It was disappointing for us, too.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. It was not our best moment. It was a bit of a humbling experience here. That's about all I have to say about that.
So
Looked
cocky
great.
about it, too.
I do want to ask, were you actually first?
We were literally the
Oh,
first
my
team to
goodness.
Howard Tower shaken. I'm not sure whether they thought we would be strong or they would be weak. They must have thought one or the other, and we thought we did good at 8 going in because
Oh,
no
yeah,
one else
yeah.
had done
That
it. And we
seemed
thought
high, yeah.
8 out of 11. That sounds good numerically, right? So we're like, yeah, average, good. But no,
No.
it turned out to be the baseline. So.
Yeah.
So these challenges are so fascinating, right? And it's like, what would I do? Like, there's so many infinite ways you could build a strong tower out of Lego. And I've done it a lot because we do it at birthday parties. It's like the tallest tower
Yeah.
challenge. We do it at Lego clubs when we go to elementary schools. And there's just so, you could use Technic. As we saw in season 1 with the bridge challenge, Technic wasn't the strongest.
It wasn't.
was the way Tyler did it with, what would you call it? That
Snotted plates. So
Okay.
studs not on top plates.
Yeah.
So yeah.
studs not on top plates, which is
Snot.
the acronym is SNOT.
Yeah.
Snotted.
Pretty snotty plates.
Nice.
Snotted plates. All right. You're not going to find those at Atlanta Brick Co. We keep those very clean. So here's what I was disappointed with is I wanted to see what worked and what didn't work. And I felt like the people who did hit 11, it's like you didn't really see how they did it. You know, I wanted to see the inner workings of how. Like, so the ball and joint, the husband and wife team did great.
Yeah.
Was it the ball and joints?
Kinda, yeah. It's just how, first of all, it's how the build happens to break. So there's a lot of random chance. But then secondly, different elements that help keep that top of your tower on longer really ended up paying off for some teams. Like we would have fallen out a lot earlier if we didn't have the plates going up the tower and kind of at least keeping the broken sections together and up there. And then their ball joints and vines ended up being really good, strong attachment point, and they kept it up there for a very long time.
Yeah.
So even if their build was relatively hollow. So, yeah.
I'll say we did get to see the inner workings of Motos.
You're right. And it worked.
Yeah, it did. It was their foundation.
But
They qualified, barely.
so what worked with Motos? Was it the honeycomb structure or was it the Technic?
It was the technique
Yeah, it was the
skeleton.
technique skeleton.
Yeah, the honeycomb structure was just aesthetic.
they just fell off.
And the Utah Moms had a Technic
They had
skeleton.
an actual core of
Yeah,
technique.
theirs was impressive. The way it was hanging on right there, and the whole thing was wobbling around, and it
Yeah.
still hung on. I was surprised.
And you couldn't see the inside. It just looked like it was just floating.
Yeah, it was so weird.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was neat. And it is nice to see everybody do so well.
Yeah.
Because it levels the playing field.
It really did, and that's nice. So,
Yeah.
well,
So-
not if you're in the bottom three, but it's nice for everyone else.
They made you out to be competitive
Yeah,
again.
very aggressive.
Very confident. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, we're going to
So
win.
you said you were going to break the Richter scale, but you've never done anything like that before. Why would you think that?
Well, we know we can usually build strong buildings, but we just
Usually.
didn't calculate the level of wiggling that would be happening.
Yeah, it was
and
pretty
it just,
violent.
I think you can tell right away. Here's my main takeaway from the show, right? My main 2 cents. All 3 of the bottom 3 creations had a narrow choke point, almost like a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a narrow point at the top and a big thing at the bottom, and that created a perfect place for it to break.
Yeah.
All three of them. And several other towers had this too, but they lasted longer.
Yeah.
So it's like ours in particular had the most dramatic difference in size between the top and the bottom. The ones that were solid all the way up ended up being a lot stronger. So that was a mistake on our part as far as aesthetics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as design.
Do you think the wheels worked at all?
They worked,
The rubber tires.
but only
Yeah.
to a certain point because it ended up
They had
snapping the
that
neck
weak- yeah.
too. So yeah. And if they had gone straight all the way up, I think that they would have lasted longer.
Oh, yeah.
Same with us. So.
If you could do it again, what would you?
The only thing I would do differently is I wouldn't narrow down, even though aesthetically it looks cool when a tower gets smaller at the top. It should, if it was one piece all the way up and we had used plates, I think it would have been stronger and would have been a nice contender on the higher end of the thing. But because it had that narrow choke point, it really ended up breaking it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have actually gone with Technic.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I would have gone with plates. Because as you can see, only some Technic was used on the one that won, which was Dave & Richards. They had a hollow inside,
Theirs is
brick
impressive.
exterior, and then a few Technic things on the outside. Plates would have done the same thing, if not better,
Yeah.
in that situation. If we had gone with one piece versus two pieces, in my opinion, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
So that wasn't part of the rules that it had to.
That was allowed in the rules. So you had to be 32 by 32 at the bottom. And then you could go at 2 feet, you could narrow it down to 20 by 20 studs. And so you could make it smaller if you were running out of time or didn't want to have that much volume. And we decided, yeah, let's get narrow at the top, make it like a building tower. But you didn't have to, and some teams did, and they paid the price for it.
So when I do something, I always look back and think back on it. I should have done this. I could have done that. But I don't really have regrets on things. But I always think, what can I do to make things better? Did you think about that after that challenge, or did you not have time to think about it?
In the filming of the episodes, we went right into the next challenge. Didn't have a lot of time to really dwell on our mistakes. But after all of our time on the show was done, I've looked back on that and thought, man, I should not have narrowed it at that point. That was the main mistake, and that's you can see most of the builds break at that point. So it's like it was just a tactical decision that did not end up helping us.
But watching the first tower when they presented it to you, it seemed like it was difficult to get a sense of how strong that thing was going to vibrate.
Yeah.
Because how far did it go before that tower?
That
demonstration?
first demonstration,
Yeah.
they just like immediately dialed it up to 11, and it
Oh, it
shook
was just
to pieces. When they start a challenge, they read us the rules. It's a very long, tedious process, and they actually demonstrated the shake table without anything on it, and it was shaking around and doing all this stuff. And a lot of that movement didn't translate the way you would think with something on it.
Yeah.
Right.
It mostly just did side to side. And Steve and I were planning on kind of all over. So our tower was like, you could have almost done a wall versus a box and it would have done better, you know, but we just didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a huge amount of unknown as far as movement and whatnot. So, yeah.
Because I imagine the competitions that you build, they don't shake it to pieces.
No.
But you've done this in the past.
Yeah, we know how to pack for transportation, which is somewhat of a shake situation, but normally if you drive carefully, it's not nearly as
You're not
powerful as what's
rolling
going
over
on.
the
there. Yeah. No flipping or
Earthquakes, those are a little violent.
The Utah Moms, theirs went skinnier too at the top, but it looked like it wasn't connected to the outer layer of their building because it was moving. You could see that skinnier part moving around
So much.
still inside the smaller structure,
Yeah.
which was cool. But do you think that a lot of people made them skinny because of time?
Yeah, I think that was really
Especially
it.
them.
Because I know that ours was partially aesthetics and partially time. And then Caleb and Jacob was definitely time. They would rather have gone all the way up, but they thought, oh, we got to just finish up because they had spent so much time on this complicated tire suspension thing in the bottom that they just went up to the top and just threw some minifigs on. And then like Tim and Zach were running out of time. I'm not sure. I believe they had something of a rework or a rebuild, so they were running out of time, so they had to do a roof and a little tower up there. So everyone who had a little tower was generally doing it because they ran out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do at Lego Club, when we go to elementary schools, we give kids 16 by 16 base plates. And the challenge is to build the tallest tower. And they all start building, and you've done this before for us at the clubs, they all start building around the outsides. And I tell them, I'm like, hey, you have 20 minutes to build your tower. It only needs to be 4 studs by 4 studs. It to be
You're not gonna shake
really
it.
tall.
Yeah.
Because we're not shaking it, and so then they all start to go narrower. When you start that wide, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
BPH, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what they were
bricks
talking
per
about.
hour.
Bricks per hour.
Moto actually says BPM, which is bricks per minute, which is a little bit
Okay.
more precise. But
Yeah.
they kind of
Yeah.
butchered it as they do.
So Moto and Paris wear the long coats. Are they really that technical? I mean, he
Paris
does.
is very technical. Moto is also quite technical. Although Moto I would say is more into aesthetics and sculpting than he is into technical. But he kind of it played along with the science-based stuff. They're both very, very sharp, sciencey guys. So it really, you talk to them, it makes sense. So.
Would you have played the Golden Brick had you been Wayne and Zach? Did they do a good job playing that?
So yeah, they actually did a really good job playing that when they did. They had something that would have really hurt them if they had not played it that was cut out.
I just hear.
So I'm not really at liberty to say that, but I'm surprised they didn't include it because it would have made great TV and it would have made more sense for them to use the Golden Brick. As it's shown, it looks like they made a mistake. Even if their build was kind of ugly, they had some really grand design plans. And if they had worked, they would have really done a stunning build. But it was just not working out. It was not fitting together the way they were expecting. And they ended up just quickly whipping up a tower that was very narrow. It just, aesthetically it would have lost. And it would have lost for other reasons. But they got cut out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's so interesting about this challenge and the last challenge is there's such a technical element to it that, it's totally different. You've got sculptors, you've got artists, you've got technic builders, and then you got people that just like to play.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we have the technic builders that come into our store. And they're buying Technic, and they have laser focus on Technic. The one guy I'm thinking of, that he comes in, and every time I see him, I'm like, yeah, all right, we're getting some big Technic sets today. He doesn't care about houses and minifigures,
In the slightest, yeah.
So this is where that Technic builder could come in and really shine. Whereas you're an all-around builder, but I would say you're an artist above anything else. So this is a challenge for
Tough
you.
one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for Wayne and Zach.
Yeah.
So this is where it really gets competitive, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It was an awesome episode.
Pushing people to the limits and pushing the parts we had to the limits too, as far as just staying together.
Who ended up getting kicked off? The brothers?
It was Tim and Zach, the father and son.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the father and son. Okay, they had a funny dynamic.
I loved watching them
because
were
the
really
first
nice guys.
2 times Zach talked, it was just a laugh, like ha ha dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you have kids. Did you tease them relentlessly?
Oh, of course. You have to.
It's a dad thing, yeah.
You have to.
Your dad has how many kids?
I'm one of 9, so.
One of 9.
Yeah.
Joe Wicker, the Wicker bus pulls up, and it's like, all right.
Yeah. So
Gonna
he
have
has
a
plenty
full
to tease.
store. Yeah. What's funny is you guys aren't the only family that pulls up in buses.
Oh, yeah, we have lots of people.
Yeah, we have a lot of them are homeschooled families too, which I don't know why. I don't know the correlation. You would think the more kids, the harder it would be.
It's really not. It's easier once you have more, because then the older ones help the younger ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're such a well-rounded kid.
That must be it.
Okay.
All that responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fun.
Well, aesthetically, I'm not just saying this because I know you, but your building I thought was the best looking.
It did look good.
The cakes were kind of plain, and then the one with the numbers just looked like he didn't know how to count.
I was
But
really
my
concerned.
daughter said the same thing. And she, Dad, where's the 4?
Yeah.
But
There's
it
2
did-
1s.
It did make sense.
Yeah, once
I mean,
they
it was
explained
based
it.
on a
Fibonacci,
pedagogical,
yeah.
and which made sense. But if you didn't know that,
We didn't know that the whole show. We didn't get to talk to Dave and Richard about the numbers, and so we're just like,
1 1.
I was like, there's some sort of adding up going on. And Steven's like, where's the 4? I was like,
They don't like 4.
yeah, so-
I don't know, but the buildings were kind of plain, and the one with the cats I thought was just weird.
It was.
Very much looked like an afterthought.
It was.
The cats were added on afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did.
It became their
the
story.
cats made it to like level 8 though.
The cats were staying on very well.
Must be the
Some good
claws.
questions.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is.
Now, interesting to note that despite our attempts at aesthetics, Amy hates the color tan. Like, absolutely.
She said that too, and I was like, she's like, color tan kind of makes you lose
So
those
we're
curves.
just like, oh no, why didn't we choose white or something else
I
or
don't-
gray even? No,
She
it's
got
like,
against
she,
tan.
and so you notice that both towers in the bottom were tan. You know, so it's like any tan towers got put in the bottom right away just because of Amy. So it's like it was stacked against us, you could say. So
Stacked.
yep.
Yeah.
But so your tower was based on the Lighthouse of Alexandria, or
I think it was called the Phobos. So it was the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and it was a very cool building. So it was kind of inspired by that, as well as just Mediterranean architecture and color schemes. It was kind of an evolving plan, and that's why I didn't hear much of our stories, because at the end we had it down pat, but at the beginning we were kind of like, I guess we're doing like a hotel resort, and then ended up switching into a Mediterranean thing.
Okay.
It's a kind of
it
evolved.
looked really nice because it did have the stained glass at the bottom and the pillars, and it looked very pretty. And then like I said, the other buildings were kind of plain.
Yeah,
in
some of the
But they
walls were
weren't
just
tan.
solid walls and stuff. There wasn't a lot going on as far as stuff, so we had some details.
They didn't seem to care about story as much
Or
in this
aesthetics,
one.
really.
No, I would have been surprised if they had gone deeply into story for a build that was just designed to be
To
stand
destroy,
up to the strength. It was more about strength, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a great show. It's so
yeah.
funny. Jennifer Love Hewitt, the whole thing, and they're tying that into one of their other shows. It's like a shameless plug, but but it works. I mean,
was funny.
It's so entertaining. So you guys have these rules that you have to abide by, but if the rule doesn't work for TV, they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, that's the great thing about it. I hate to keep bringing up our Lego clubs, but we do the same thing. Is like time-wise, it's always timed.
Yeah.
Because you want the kids to build fast, or otherwise they'll never finish what they're building. So with time, we're like, all right, you got 5 minutes left, but it might be 10 minutes, it might be 1 minute. We just make it up. And
Yeah.
One time we had this really sharp kid that was like, wait, 5 minutes? You said 2 minutes ago that there was 10 minutes left. Where did the time go? And I'm like, I'm the one keeping
Don't think
time.
about that. Keep building.
Just build. So that must be hard for you guys too. You want to play by the rules, right? But at the same time, you got to build a strong tower, and it's got to look good, and you have to have a good story. So there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah, way too much to think about. But,
As time is ticking down on you.
I would say that how they have the 1 hour left or the 10 minutes left. Those are more annoying than helpful.
I
they really
think
are.
that's the point.
We're keeping careful track of the time the whole time, and then when they just turn off the lights for a second, it's only red lights. I can't see a thing, and I'm just like.
I was doing something.
So it wasn't like I was actually stressed about the time. I was just enraged that they're interrupting my build flow. So yeah. But,
At what point do they turn the lights off like that?
at 1 hour, they definitely turn off all the main white normal lights, and then they would just it'd be like a bright red, and then it's like 1 hour left, people. And we're just so annoyed by that. It's great for TV, but it's so annoying when you're trying to build something cool and you have 1 hour left. So,
Yeah.
Well, you just skated by it last night.
Yes. Great bye.
Again. So
I'm disappointed.
we're all gonna be upset, I think, here coming up, Mark, because you guys just keep
Oh, terrible.
We're just
know.
dragging along,
you and Steven are rule breakers. You know? Your minifigure fell over. Last night you had too much tan.
Disgusting tan.
And you only made it to level 8 on the Richter scale, which is really good in my opinion.
I thought it was.
I just can't believe how well everybody's
they
towers did.
Really
They did
good.
terrific.
I mean, how do you prepare for that? It's
can't.
such a cool challenge. In fact, I figured a way out that I could build my own Richter scale.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
That'd be
If
fun.
do that.
if we ever wanted to have fun like
That would be fun to do.
at the
challenge.
store, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Justin, you have any other questions for Mark?
So why doesn't she like tan?
That's a good question.
She is really into the bright, colorful stuff, Amy is. And tan and gray and other earth tones don't really speak to her the same way that they do for me and Steven. Steven and I are into castles, we're into landscapes, and those are like the real earthy, real colors. And so we love those colors. So it's a different background as far as building, I think. There's a disconnect there. So,
You know what's interesting is Amy not liking tan. So she does dots, and dots is very colorful.
Yeah.
She does friends, and friends is very colorful. Did she invent friends or just
she was one
design,
of the people behind the Friends theme for sure. So yeah.
the first house in Friends was tan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't
And
want to
that
use
was
tan.
it. And that was it. So I wonder if she had a part in that or didn't have a part in that, or she did it and she just didn't like it for some reason.
There could be a history there that we
could be.
accidentally stumbled
Yeah,
into.
that's
yeah.
Fell on her cat or something.
Yeah.
That's a very
The amount
good...
of tan.
Justin always having the insight. In fact, Justin revealed last week that he knew you didn't get kicked off this week, he saw a commercial of a different challenge, which really I didn't like your insight on that because I like to be surprised. Next week looks a lot of fun.
So it's one of my favorite episodes.
Don't say
That's all I'm
anything.
gonna say.
We don't want to. We don't want to know. We want surprise. Go ahead, Joe.
No, when they were like saying, the introduction, they're like, and the hottest, and it cuts to your face going, we all died watching
So
it.
we're gonna make a poster of that, right?
Yes, we
Yeah,
have
okay.
to.
I already have a screenshot on my phone.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
perfect.
It was beautiful. We were dying after
That was
that.
awesome.
So it does look really
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw it, I thought that looks harder than the one they just did.
Yeah, but it looks like it's gonna
Totally
be awesome.
different too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
totally different.
These challenges are very unique.
Episode 2 was designed to break. Episode 3 was designed to survive a really tough shake.
Yeah. So I know Steven pretty well. Not as well as you, obviously, because he's your brother.
Yeah.
But when they announced, I think it was when they announced the challenge last night, they showed Steven looking like. And I think he looked at you and did that.
Yeah, he
but
did.
that look, I felt like I knew that look, and it was he knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Was that his look? Did he knew exactly what he wanted to do, or how
He
to
was
do
really
it?
excited about building something that was strong versus building something that was going to break. It was like we felt like building a tower and having it shake. That was something that would play to our strengths. We do know how to build strong builds. It's just certain design flaws that ended up stopping us. I would say though that they didn't really, once the build fell over, they didn't continue to see how much further it would get destroyed. They didn't actually go to 11 with everyone if it fell at 8 or 9 or 10. So I am almost sure that our base would have never fallen off, because up to about a foot up, ours was just ironclad and it was really secured to the base. It was very well put together, but once you went narrower, then it became weaker. So it's like if we had just gone all the way up, I think we would have really done very well. I think we would have been at least 10 or 11. So it's like Steven was excited, and then I had just a little bit of input on the design as far as aesthetics. We're going for tan, mistake, and stuff like that. So things like that, we were both happy and very enthusiastic about the challenge till about 2/3 in. And then the time crunch and then the shake didn't go as we expected. So.
Hopefully no one builds a hat out of tan next week.
So how much had to fall off for them to stop it, do you think? I mean, no one really had a little tiny tip fall off.
No.
But what if that happened?
That's hard to say. That only time that actually came into question was when Moto and Paris's exterior kind of fell
Like
off.
the whole thing.
And the only reason that they didn't call him out on that was because Moto was very clear in saying these panels are supposed to break off and show the interior, because he knew that they didn't have enough time to really build a strong exterior. So they're like, but they did spend a lot of time building a really tough interior. So they tried to make it that point and use that point to their advantage, because Ray and Philip also intended for the leaves to fall off their vines, but they didn't until quite further down the road.
Theirs was very impressive.
Yeah.
They stood out to me a lot. Like
They did
they
great.
did really good.
They thought they were going to do terrible, but they did really great. So they kind of got away with it because they made a point of this is supposed to fall off. And I think everyone was pretty much like, yeah, that's fine. Their build did last that long.
Had I been a judge, I would have put Moto and Peraz in the bottom 3
Yeah.
because
It fell off, yeah.
No aesthetic.
because of the plates, the
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Here's the
I
thing.
mean,
It's awful.
Me and Dave and Richard were discussing this a little bit afterwards, in that if they had counted it when it actually had structural failure versus when it actually fell off, everyone would be in like the 5 and 6 range or lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because ours snapped at like 5 or 6, the neck broke and it was
Yeah.
kind of wobbling. And then like even Brian and Lauren's, the bottom was loose at
Yeah.
like 5
Right.
and 6,
Oh, yeah.
but the build just held on and didn't actually fall all the way off. So it's like everyone would have been much lower. Nobody would have broken the machine,
Yeah.
except maybe Moto and Paris' skeleton. But everyone else, there was structural failure and it was, actually breaking at the point. If you're talking about separation of bricks, it would have been a much lower scale.
Yeah.
That doesn't look as good on TV.
And no, it doesn't.
Show
If they had
it.
stopped it at 6 and says, "Hey, there's a crack, you're out," So that's, yeah.
So I'm not sure how I would have done it yet, but I would have played with the idea of Technic and something that actually moved, because they've got that Burj Khalifa in the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates, I think, that moves, or Dubai is it?
Yeah.
And it's like an accordion or something, and the whole thing just moves.
Yeah, try doing that in 8 hours though. I don't know.
I've been thinking, like, how do you do that? How do you do that? But
the time crunch was real. Everyone
Yeah.
was really short for time.
Every challenge keeps getting shorter.
we didn't like the trend at all. No,
Yeah.
So this next week it will also be shorter.
it's gonna
2
be
hours.
2 hours. No, I can't reveal the time,
Okay.
but it's less.
No, I can't reveal that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's the
Probably.
trend shows that it's going to be less, but
I
we'll
see.
see.
These activities look like so much fun. I always want to do them, but then again, it just takes so long to try to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work. And then, do they ever bring them back? I wonder, right? I mean, like, so this show's fun. Hopefully it lasts for 10 years, right? American Idol's still going.
Yeah.
But at what point do you just have to reuse the same challenges?
Yeah.
You know?
They bring
They
back a
have
classic
to.
challenge or
They,
something.
they
yeah.
have to years from now. They've got to bring back, or just change it up a little bit.
Well, we did the explosions for a second time, even though it was a bit different with the figure. So it's like they are reusing things that they liked from last season,
Yeah.
even if it's a little bit different.
Which
so.
is nice to see, because then when you have, like, say next season they have something where it falls down like that, you can watch season 2, watch season 3 and be like, well, this person did better than this person did better than that person, and kind of see who's actually a Lego master.
Yeah.
So it's good to compare people from different seasons who just didn't get to compete. So with a similar challenge, you get that.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that's a good point there.
Just not all the same ones.
Yeah, exactly. Not the same challenge
Yeah,
every time.
you want to see some difference.
Justin, after watching it, what would you have done to make your tower win?
I think the snot idea is a good idea. If you just did multiple panels on the side and you had them like that, but they went this way, because those they're pretty flexible,
Yeah.
and those would, I would imagine, take a lot of shock.
Yeah. Just don't narrow it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just if you went all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably
And
work.
did it have to be 3D? Because you mentioned that if you just did like a C,
It
just
had
the
to
front-
be 4 sides.
It had to be four.
But it had, and you couldn't see through.
Okay.
So there was those two were like the main things. It had to be 32 by 32, 4 sides, couldn't see through. So you could have gone hollow and saved yourself a lot of time. But it's also like, do you want the weight to pull it down, or do you want it to be really light and possibly fall off? So we were
Right.
debating all that. So
Yeah. It looked like a lot of people took a lot of time, like, as they started building, like, what are we gonna do to keep this from falling down? Because no one could think of it fast enough, and they're like, that time's clicking down,
Yeah.
so
It was
that's
so
why a
fast.
lot of people had to build narrow.
Now, in the challenges you've done before for other competitions, did you ever have to build anything that tall?
Oh, we've built mocks taller than that before,
Okay.
many times. So, but it's just that never in that short a span.
Right.
Steven would spend 2 months building a castle that was 4.5 feet tall, which would have been 6 inches or more taller than the ones we were building, and it was very detailed and has rooms
Right.
and stuff. But it's just building that high, that fast.
And
Building
that's strong.
and
Yeah.
strong is just like such an extreme on all the criteria.
So I saw somebody using a mallet. Did you guys use a mallet at all?
Steven might have broken into it a little bit. I can't say for Steven, but I did not use it on camera. In this case, we didn't have any off-camera building, I don't remember. So I would have just used my hands the whole time. So
Nice.
just because I'm pretty used to building, working here.
There's only so far you can press a brick down.
Yeah.
And if you mallet it, you can loosen the brick and cause stress fracture, which could weaken it actually. So I think you're right. If you're strong enough to push those down, you're better off not using a mallet.
Yeah.
Unless you're like using plates.
Yeah.
Sticking plates flat.
Then that mallet makes
Yeah,
sense.
I could see
yeah.
So we were just like,
So they got you going like
Viking.
this one time. Playing into the character they're making you out to be on the show, the competitive guy, which you are.
Yeah.
But you're nice.
Yep.
You're a lot nicer, So,
Yeah.
like we just played Tank Battles 2 nights ago, and you were the gentleman the whole game, sharing your army with Angie,
Destroying our armies.
you were doing well,
Yep.
and then great the whole game. Not nasty competitive like me or John or Joe.
Okay.
But then right at the end of the game, I got my back to you. I'm looking over here because somebody's attacking me. You shoot my flag down on my tank, and I look up. I'm like, where did that come from?
Mark just goes,
I wanted to help that side because our side was starting to go down. So.
that's why I took you
But
out.
anyway, they got you going like that,
Uh-huh.
and I thought immediately, I was like, oh, they're doing that because they're making it look like he's
Yeah.
being competitive.
Oh,
But
yeah.
your fingers were probably
I was stretching my fingers,
You
yeah.
were stretching them and cracking those knuckles because
Yeah.
you were probably really sore. I could imagine it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically to stretch the fingers, rest the eyes for a second, look around, and I must have been like kind of feeling the time crunch because I look kind of like. And what I love it, and this is all really added in, but they'll add if Zach and Wayne do anything, there's a reaction from me and Steve looking grumpy, but that was because somebody's build was shaking or they were getting tough criticism. We were kind of like, oh no, they're getting hammered by the judges. And so, so it wasn't necessarily we were always angry, but they're presenting it in a way that we're really just after people. We're going to gobble them up, is what I was telling them on a live stream later.
You did play into it pretty good by saying you were going to break the Brichters.
Yeah, I was playing into it too much, maybe, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were y'all very happy when you saw them turn in the golden brick?
We were like, ooh, wow, it's real. But I think me and Steve were like, if I were them, I totally would.
Yeah.
Because they were like really shook. They
You
didn't
could
actually show it too much because they weren't in bottom two. Once their plan wasn't fitting together, and within the first 2 or 3 hours, they had scrapped it completely and they were like looking at the table like, what do we do? And so their
building looked like they just threw it together.
It really did. They actually built it in the last hour or two. Like as fast as Jen and Susan did in the last hour or two. Those two teams really whipped it up. And they both lasted pretty long, which is great. But I would have been worried if I was in their shoes. And I was just like, I felt pretty good about our tower just because everything worked good. We didn't stop or change or our plans worked as far as constructing. But theirs were like falling through and they were really having to bounce back. So I would have used it. And I'm glad they did. There are reasons that they really should have used it. They kind of, I don't know why they cut them out. Maybe one day later down the road I can share that. But right now I don't think I should be sharing that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Speaking of the golden brick, this one's chrome silver.
Yeah.
Is the real golden brick just a chrome gold brick?
It's just like that, but it's chrome gold, not chrome silver.
So it's not real gold.
Yeah.
Okay, and it doesn't shine every time.
Only when
have
we're
lights. It actually doesn't have lights in it. I think they add that in post.
Oh, really? Really? You don't get blinded every time it gets pulled out?
It's a good effect, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but every time Zach and Wayne pull it out or they mention it, they show Mark and Steven's face looking.
Yeah, like, we're gonna get it.
I want it.
And everyone else wanted it too, so I don't know why it's just us who seem to want it on the show.
Because you guys barely lost to him in that first challenge.
We just want that golden.
They gotta tell that story.
I want the golden brick. Ooh, it's so funny. Precious. I'm looking like Gollum over there. It's I'm hungry enough to be.
So Zach and Wayne had it for 2 episodes.
They got it in the first episode. Didn't use it in the second episode. Used it in the third. So they had 2 episodes with it.
Do they actually hold on to it, or do they?
It goes back to Will.
But even when they have it, do they keep it in their pocket?
If they're on set, they're given the brick, and then once they get off set, they just hand it off. So.
Oh, nice.
So they'll have it in their pocket while they're building.
Oh, that's nice.
It's pretty interesting.
Just pat it and be like, okay, we're okay.
I like to rub things in and stuff. So I'd be building and I'd be like, oh, hey, we need a 2x4. Anybody want to? Oh, I got one in my pocket here. Let me put that on the tower.
Yeah, put it on your.
Oh, that's gold. I better put that back in my pocket.
Yeah, that one's too shiny to use. Everyone was so frantic these first few episodes that there wasn't a lot of time for smack talk. Maybe later down the road they will see that. I don't know.
Good.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Mark?
That's about it.
I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to talk about next week's after it airs because it looks so funny.
You guys are in for one of the funniest episodes ever on Lego Masters. It's going to be so great.
It looks
I can tell by your face.
Oh, yeah. It's... Oh.
The hottest.
Yeah, the hottest episode ever. So.
Can you do the face? Can you recreate it?
It does look very difficult.
There it is. Oh, yeah. The hottest.
Yeah.
Oh, my
You gotta
goodness.
suck those cheeks in, you know?
Yeah.
mold.
Yeah. Oh, so
It's called brown steel.
You guys are obviously brown steel.
That's what my look is called. Everyone calls it that.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
No, not
If you look
tan.
at the picture, you'll see little brown elements that I'm wearing.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
it in mind.
So it's funny that episode is coming out next week. It's fashion. And they just had the Adidas sneakers come out
Yeah.
like yesterday or something.
Lego's getting into the fashion game pretty strong.
And that set, like Joe and I were talking about this morning, he's not into sneakers. I like them, but I don't pay a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
But that set
just neat.
is so cool.
It's really neat.
Is the shoebox cardboard or is it?
I think it's a normal box. It's just
It
printed,
is?
but I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the pictures closely.
Oh man, and then they got the plaque.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
it.
that's really neat.
If it does well, it could just be the start of
Yeah.
Air Jordan.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeezys,
you
oh,
could,
yeah.
Yeezys, yeah. New Balance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, for the dads.
Wow.
Check out my New Balance.
It's like, what am I wearing?
Dad's over here
Yeah.
are gonna wear New Balances. What do you got on there?
I don't even know.
Oh
what
no,
I'm-
he's got New Balances.
Oh, I called you out, Justin. I'm sorry.
I do
know
have
what
New
brand
Balance.
I'm wearing.
I think that about wraps it up, guys. All right.
Well, thanks for being here, guys.
Yep, for
Thank you,
sure.
Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
And I'm glad
Anytime.
I'm glad you got the rest and the vacation you needed because obviously it worked. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I feel
are
better.
You look
so
better,
much.
too.
You're so much better than you normally are.
Yeah, I feel more handsome.
Yeah,
You look it, too. I mean, the beard coming
it
in
must
good.
be the
yeah.
beard and the
It must be,
tan.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
even your eyes look bluer. That must
could be.
the tan.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You using new product in your hair? It looks better.
Well, no, just seawater.
Yeah.
Just seawater.
That's
Sea-
sea-
Oh,
that's
that's
salt.
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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
that's right. That
Yeah,
does
that's
wonders
great.
for your skin.
Uh-huh.
It does. I do feel better.
Okay. Great.
Well, that wraps it up. Next week, we'll have another episode of Vlogcast about the next episode of Lego Masters Season 2. Thank you for joining me, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
This is Justin for the Atlanta Brick Co. Signing off.